Mind Warrior here, also known as Christian, and today we're going to do some UU suspect test, laddering. So, I'm just going to show you the team that I have at the moment, that I'm working with. So, I got Heliolisk, rocking the Life Orb and Dry Skin just to counter those Mega Blastoise. And it's rocking the Stab, Hyper Voice, and Thunderbolt, Hidden Power Grass for Swampert, and Surf for Rotom Heat, and some of the other mons like that, and to catch them off guard. Got Noivern, who's rocking the Choice Specs and Infiltrator just to deal with stupid substitute sets. And it has the Dragon Pulse, Boomburst, Hurricane, and Shadow Ball, just to cover some of that other weakness with the Shadow Ball. Then I got Gligar, which is supposed to be a physical tank. That's why it's rocking the Eviolite and Immunity. I was going to run it as a defogger, but just didn't seem worth it for me. And so it's rocking the Knockoff, Earthquake, Toxic, and Roost. Now my own special set, Assault Vest Aggron, which I've come to love very much, and it's rocking the Rock Head, so I can not take half recoil from Head Smash. And it's rocking Earthquake, Heavy Slam, Head Smash, and Superpower. Then I have the Nidoqueen, which I switched out just recently from a Nidoking, and it's rocking the Life Orb with Sheer Force, and it has Earthquake, Poison Jab, Ice Punch, and Sucker Punch just to get another physical attacker, since there's not many Intimidators that are high up in the UU tier. Then I got Infernape, Focus Sash, with the Fake Out and Stealth Rocks just to be a nice lead, with this Close Combat and Flare Bits just to be able to dish out some extra damage if need be. So, let's get right into it. Alright, so our first battle. Now we know it's a Mega Absol, and I see that Cresselia and I'm not loving it. So, I really think he's going to lead off with that Empoleon. So I'm highly debating leading off with the Infernape. So I can at least get up Stealth Rocks, and maybe even knock it out before I get the Stealth Rocks up. So I can at least get the Fake Out, Stealth Rocks, and then Close Combat it, if it doesn't kill me with a Scald. That's why I'm rocking the Focus Sash. So he does send out the Empoleon. So I know he's going to want to set up Stealth Rocks, but I'm unsure if he has Rocky Helmet, so that's why I really don't want to go for the Fake Out. So, actually I'm going to go for the Fake Out, because they don't usually run it. Now we can see if it's Leftovers, which it is Leftovers. So, now let's get a clean Close Combat off, just see how much it does, and it one-shots. So that's great for us. Now he has no chance of getting up Rocks. So now, this is when I set up the Stealth Rocks, because he can't one-shot me, so I can see what he wants to do. And he goes for the Earthquake. So this tells me, since I did outspeed it, that it's not Choice Scarfed. So I want to say that this, and it's not Life Orb either. So, I'm guessing it's either Yachi Berry to tank the Ice move, or it's going to be a Choice Band, which just seems weird that they would run that. So I'm just going to make the safe switch in, and I'm going to go into the Noivern, since I know I would speed this thing no matter what happens. It's risky, but he sets up the Dragon Dance. Now, this is where I have to make a close call. I might have to send in the Aggron, but he might want to get up a second Dragon Dance so he knows he sweeps. So I'm just going to go for the Dragon Pulse, but he goes for the Outrage. Okay. That was not a bright play. I thought he was going to predict me to switch out and then go for another Dragon Dance, maybe get greedy on that. So that's my fault. Now, the only option I see is going for a knockoff and taking out whatever item, but I do live the hit. And it's a Lumberry. That's what it is. So, if he only got confused, I'm going to have to let this thing go down. So now I can send in my Nidoqueen and hope that he does get fully confused and get a nice clean Ice Punch off. Because I know he's not going to want to switch out, because he knows he has the sweep if he can preserve this thing and break through. And he does break through. And it looks like we got swept in our first game. That was not a bright play on my part. I let the Salamander set up because he knew the Infernape couldn't do anything to him. I should have switched out into the Aggron first so I can get off a nice head smash. But he's pretty much at this point, and the confusion goes through, and I get the close combat off. Now I can still take this game back. There's no sweep, but I can still take this game back if I play this right. Now I can switch out Infernape, and he goes for the Entei. No, nothing really wants on my team. I have a slight suspicion I outspeed this thing, so I'm just gonna go for the close combat. But of course, the extreme speed's right there. But I know this thing outspeeds, so I'm gonna go straight for the Surf and hope he doesn't switch out into the Shaman, because he might. And he switches out to Cresselia, which I'm not surprised about that. So I'm gonna make the obvious prediction. I have to. At this point in the game, I can't overpredict. And he goes for the Calm Mind. So now I can get off a nice and powerful Heavy Slam that should do a lot of damage to this thing. But he switches out in the Shaman, and the Heavy Slam still does a lot of damage. But he goes for the Earth Power. So really, this tells me that this thing is scarfed. But it's not. Huh. Okay. So now this Cresselia can pretty much stall me out. But he goes for the Entei. So he's gonna want to fire off an extreme speed. Doesn't kill me, but the Life Orb will. I tried to bring it back, but that Salamence really screwed me up. So, let's hop in. And this is a very interesting team here. So, I'm going to predict the Swampert lead. And I'm going to go into Heliolisk. But he goes out with the Crobat, which is interesting. So I really just want to fire off. I'm not going to make any first turn predictions. I'm just going to fire off. And that does a lot of damage. And now he's going to switch into the Swampert, make the safe play. And because he has a Heliolisk, he knows exactly how to run this thing, how this thing is going to go. And he does exactly what I thought. I want to go for the Hidden Power Grass just to see, because I know I outspeed this thing indefinitely. It's just the point of hoping that he doesn't set up a Rain Dance. But he goes for the safe Ice Punch. So, I can make a judgment call here. I can go into the Noivern. My safest play is actually Infernape, because it really bodies a lot of his team. Because the close combat can take out the Heliolisk and the Hydreigon, and the Flare Blitz does a lot to that Doublade. So I want to just go for the safe Fake Out, see if he does switch out to that Doublade, which I'll be really interested if he does. Predicting the Fake Out. But most Infernapes usually don't run Fake Out Stealth Rocks. This is just a mix of the super physical variant, and he attacks the Choice Scarf, or the Focus Sash. So my best bet here to tank special hits is gonna be the Aggron, because there's nothing this thing wants to do to me. Yeah, quad resisted Boom Burst. He's gonna want to switch out because this thing is most definitely choiced in some way. So he's gonna want to switch out to that Swampert, and I know it. So I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go for the safe Heavy Slam, and he switches in the Hydreigon. So I can make the prediction that I can live a hit from this thing, and he sets up the Rain Dance. And ladies and gentlemen, this thing just became a whole new threat. I didn't even know. That's surprising. I would not expected a Hydreigon to set up that. So my thought is I really have no safe switch in. So I'm just going to fire off an Earthquake. But he goes for an Earthquake of his own. So this thing's speed, I'm just going to calc it real fast to see what this thing's speed at. If it's max speed, 262, So it's around 390, 393. Now, that outspeeds everything on my team. So, my best bet, because I know he's definitely max speed, is to go into the Infernape and hope that Fake Out can get a crit of some sort and take it out. The good news is now, he pops the Focus Sash, but I get rid of a huge threat that could have just swept my team. Now, if the Helios didn't die so early, I would have definitely switched it in on this thing. But it did help take this thing down, so I could have killed it in this range. Okay, so this thing's definitely going to go for a U-turn. No questions asked. I'm just going to switch into Gligar, make the safe prediction, and knew it. So he's probably going to want to go into this Heliolisk and maybe fire off a Surf. And that's exactly what he wants to do. He wants to fire off a Surf. So I'm going to switch into Ivern. And he does exactly that, but it's in the rain, and that hurts. But now we know that this thing is Life Orb. So, I really just want to go... I want to go for the Shadow Ball, predicting the Doublade. But I'm just going to go for the safe Boom Burst. And I get the crit. Now, I don't know if that crit mattered or not, because this thing could have been specially invested, but usually they'll just run max speed, max special attack. But it does have some natural bulk, so I don't know if that would have killed it. So, the rain's almost gone. I have Shadow Ball for this Doublade, but I still have Infernape for the Flare Blitz, which is the good news. But as long as this rain's up, that's not doing anything to an Eviolite Doublade. So, I'm waiting for this guy to make his pick. He probably wants to go into a Noivern of his own and bank on the speed tie. Or he wants to go into the Doublade to predict the switch, because he knows I can't do anything else. So let's see. And he sends in the Crobat, which is interesting. Now, I do not outspeed, surprisingly. So I'm just going to go in to the safe Gligar once again. And the rain is gone. So I'm just going to go for a safe Roost. Now, this thing does around 36. I want to go for another Roost. But he switched down to Doublade. Now I can get off a knockoff and really hinder this thing. And that Eviolite is now gone, which is a huge, huge thing. So I go for the Earthquake, and that does a solid amount. Now, I outspeed, so if he wants to fire off a Shadow Sneak, be my guest. But this thing's... And with the crit, it doesn't even kill. So that's another huge threat gone. 2 down. This Gligar's putting in the work right now, which I'm very surprised about. Because this team just seems super hyper offensive from the get-go. And especially once that Hydreigon set up Rain Dance, which I commemorate, because I would have never seen that coming. So, this thing really has no use anymore, unless the tank hits from this Crobat. So, I really want to send in the Infernape just to sack something off, because this thing's not doing anything to an Wyvern. And he goes for the Draco. That was perfect. So now I can send him a new Wyvern of my own and go for the Dragon Pulse. Because if I win this speed tie, I should, and I do, and I get the Dragon Pulse off. That was great. So, I want to go into this Gligar, because I know, again, he has no chance of winning. And, again, my Nidoqueen is defensively invested. So, just take more damage. And I'm just going to let my Gligar go down. And now, this is when I send the Nidoqueen. Now, this thing is defensive, so it should live a hit. And it does, and I get the Ice Punch, and that's a win. Yeah, I really thought I was done for once that rain was set up. That caught me so off guard, but that Gligar really was my saving grace, because it is physically bulky, and it tanked a lot of the hits. So I don't know what's up the ladder right now. So we're just going to hop into one last game. And this team, okay. So I got the Magic Bounce Espeon, and you got the, I know what I'm already leading off with. So the reason I lead off with Infernape is because he leads in with the Aggron. I want to go for the Fake Out, see what this thing does. Now, this thing, this thing's going to tank any hit that this Infernape wants to do to it. So I'm going to set up my Stealth Rocks, which he's probably going to set up his. Yep. And I want to fire off a close combat just to see how much damage it does. That's about... Jesus. This thing is just so bulky. And he gets the Dragon Tail. So this thing's not going to take... This thing's not going to want to take it, but he's going to go for the heavies. Doesn't kill. This makes me really want to go for the Surf to predict anything. And so that's a huge threat out of the way. That's good, but again, my Heliolisk is heavily damaged, and this is just not good. So, because the Stealth Rocks are up, there's no point of switching it out. I'm just going to go for the Thunderbolt, hoping I outspeed this thing, and it's not Scarf Dance, Lumberry, and hoping I can take this Salamence out. So, and I do outspeed, I don't get the Para, and he goes for the Outrage. So, I know I can send the Infernape and just go for a safe Fake Out just to knock this thing out. And I do, which is fantastic. That's two big threats out of the way right now. And although it was at the expense... this is when I go for Flare Blitz, so this thing cannot set up Sticky Webs. But he goes for the Thunder, which that's very interesting. I would have never... He probably wanted the Infernape out of the way. But I have another Mon that can outspeed this thing very easily. I'm just going to go for the safe Dragon Pulse, and I get the crit. Now, again, don't know if the crit mattered or not. But a Choice Spec Noivern against a fully speed-invested Galvantula, I don't think it's going to live a hit. So, this thing, having this thing sent in tells me that this thing is scarfed indefinitely. So I'm going to send in the safe pick of Aggron and see what he goes for. He goes for the Shadow Ball, which does a lot of damage, and it's going to kill me next turn. Yeah. So this thing tells me it's scarfed. I'm going to go into the Gligar, and I really want to go for the Earthquake. The Shadow Ball does not take me out, but the Earthquake takes out the Chandelure. That was perfect. Now I have two of my... So now this Espeon. I want to go for the knockoff just to get whatever item it has. He shouldn't... Ooh, that was... If I do live this hit, I do, and I get the Roost off. Oh, that's rough for him. But he goes for the Grass Knot, which does a little bit more than I want it to. But I go for the knockoff. And he goes into the Entei. So I'm going to want to fire off just an Earthquake, the safe Earthquake. He does not kill me with the extreme speed. But he's going to live it, and he forfeits. So that was a good game. We got this session, we got 2 for 1. If it wasn't for that Salamence sweep, I would have been okay. But I did get my revenge on it by coming back and revenge killing it in this game. And our ladder's pretty high. It's not super high yet, but I'm getting there. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Drop a like down, drop a subscription. Words are always fun. If you enjoyed the content in this video, and I'll see you next time.